The late afternoon sun reflected off the towering glass. Walls of the Grand Pearl Hotel, turning the building into a golden beacon visible for blocks. Luxury cars lined the front entrance, sleek black sedans, high-end SUVs, and sports cars that purred rather than roared. A doorman in a pristine white uniform held the revolving glass door for a pair of women, draped in designer dresses, their diamond bracelets glittering as they stepped inside, laughing softly. And then through the swirl of pedestrians and valets, an old woman appeared. Her name was Margaret Hill, though no one here knew it. She was in her late 60s, her posture slightly bent from decades of hard work. Her skin was a deep, warm brown, with fine wrinkles at the corners of her eyes that carried a lifetime of stories. She wore a simple navy dress, freshly ironed but well worn, and scuffed black shoes that had seen better days. In her hands, she clutched a small, weathered leather purse like it was the most precious thing she owned. She moved slowly toward the entrance, her gaze steady, ignoring the curious glances from guests stepping out of limousines and valets, rushing past with luggage carts. Before she could reach the door, a tall man in a crisp black security uniform stepped into her path. His name tag read Marcus, the guard. "Ma'am," Marcus began, his tone polite but laced with condescension. "This is a private hotel for guests only." Margaret's voice was calm. "I know. I'm here to book a room." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Rooms here start at $2,000 a night. This isn't the kind of place you can just walk into off the street." "I said I can pay," she repeated, her voice firmer. A couple exiting the lobby slowed their pace, glancing at the scene. The woman's lips curled slightly, the man smirked. Just behind them, another guest in a tailored navy suit muttered something under his breath to his companion, and both chuckled. Marcus shifted his stance, planting himself more squarely in front of her. "Ma'am, you're making the guests uncomfortable. Please step aside." Margaret didn't move. "I'm not leaving." The guard's eyes narrowed. "Look, I don't want to make a scene, but you're blocking the entrance. Step away so the customers can come through." "I'm a customer," she said, her tone sharpening. "You're not the kind of customer we get here," Marcus replied bluntly. A small ripple of laughter rose from the growing number of onlookers behind the glass doors. Phones appeared in hands. Someone was recording. The air shifted from polite dismissal to public entertainment. Marcus sighed and reached out, placing a hand on her elbow. "Move, ma'am!" Margaret's purse slid slightly under the push, but she planted her feet and didn't budge. That was when a new voice cut through the murmurs. A woman's voice, crisp and authoritative. "What's going on out here?" The hotel manager had arrived. Evelyn Price, a tall, immaculately dressed woman in a fitted red blazer and pencil skirt, stepped out onto the marble threshold, her high heels clicking sharply. She looked first at Marcus, then at Margaret, and her mouth tightened in disapproval. "She's trying to get in," Marcus said quickly. "Says she can pay." "I told her this isn't the place for her." Evelyn's gaze swept over the old woman from head to toe. "Ma'am," she said slowly, as though addressing a child, "this is a luxury establishment. We can't allow—" She hesitated, choosing her words carefully. Situations like this to damage our reputation. "Please leave before we have to involve the police." Margaret's jaw tightened. "You keep saying this isn't the place for me. Tell me, what do you think I am?" Evelyn didn't answer directly. "I think you're disturbing my guests." Laughter from the lobby grew louder. Someone said, "Just throw her out already." Another voice chimed in. "Check her bag. She's probably here to steal something." Evelyn took a step closer, her voice dropping so only Marcus and Margaret could hear. "If you want a room, try somewhere more your speed." Margaret's eyes didn't waver. "I'm staying here." Evelyn sighed in frustration and nodded to Marcus. "Remove her from the entrance." Marcus stepped forward again, gripping her arm with more force this time. The old woman stumbled slightly, and a few in the crowd actually laughed out loud. The scene had turned into a cruel form of lobby entertainment. Inside the glass doors, a young hotel clerk watched nervously from the reception desk. He didn't laugh. His hands hovered over the phone, unsure whether to call someone or who to call. Margaret pulled her arm free. "Don't touch me." "You're wasting your time, lady," Marcus muttered. "Go find a motel." The laughter continued. Cameras kept rolling, and no one, not a single guest, stepped forward to help. The lobby doors hissed open again as another pair of guests stepped out. They slowed, curious, their eyes sweeping over Marcus the guard, Evelyn the manager, and the old woman still holding her ground. The man chuckled softly, pulling out his phone, and began filming from a better angle. Margaret felt the stares like needles pressing into her skin, but her eyes stayed forward. In her mind, she heard another voice, softer from years ago. "Margaret, one day your hard work will mean something. You'll stand in places you never thought possible." That was her late husband's promise. Back when they lived in a cramped apartment above a laundromat, where the walls sweated in summer and froze in winter, she blinked, pulling herself back to the present. Marcus was still blocking her path, his jaw tight. Evelyn crossed her arms, glancing at her watch like she had more important things to do than deal with an unwanted guest. "Ma'am, last warning," Marcus said. "Step away or I'll have you escorted off the property." Margaret's fingers tightened on her purse. "Go ahead," she said evenly. "Call whoever you want. I'm not moving." Behind her, a middle-aged woman in a silk scarf whispered loudly to her friend. "This is why they need better screening at the doors. She doesn't belong here." The words were deliberate, meant to be heard. Margaret turned slightly, locking eyes with her, but the woman just looked away with a smirk. The hotel's glass facade reflected Margaret's image back at her, a small, aging figure surrounded by marble, gold accents and polished uniforms. But behind that reflection, she saw another image. 25 years earlier, a younger Margaret in a hospital uniform, working double shifts as a cleaner, pushing a mop bucket down endless corridors while her son, just a boy then, sat in the break room, doing homework because she couldn't afford a babysitter. She had raised him alone after his father died. Every dollar she earned went to food, rent, and eventually his education. She had skipped meals so he could have seconds. She had walked home in the rain when she couldn't afford bus fare. And she had promised herself she'd never let anyone make him feel small for who he was. The memory faded as Evelyn stepped closer, her voice sharp. "You're creating a disturbance, ma'am. Guests are starting to complain." Margaret tilted her head. "Are they complaining about me? Or about what I look like?" Evelyn's expression didn't change, but she glanced toward the crowd, clearly aware of the growing number of phones recording. A younger man in a gray suit muttered, "She's just fishing for attention." Another guest, an older man with a cigar, laughed and said, "If she can afford the room, I'll eat my hat." The humiliation pressed heavier now, not just from the guard's grip or the manager's cold tone, but from the collective judgment in every glance, every whispered comment. Marcus stepped forward again, more forceful this time. "All right, let's go." Margaret's feet scraped against the stone as he pushed her back. She stumbled, but caught herself on the brass railing beside the steps. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but from the simmering anger rising in her chest. She thought of another memory, standing outside in the freezing cold during one of her cleaning shifts because she couldn't afford proper winter boots. She remembered telling herself she'd endure anything as long as her son made something of himself. She wondered, standing here in front of his hotel, if he would even recognize her now. Evelyn's voice broke through her thoughts. "Marcus, get her off the property now." The crowd was no longer pretending to be discreet. People openly laughed, some shaking their heads, others egging the guard on. It was at that moment, as Marcus grabbed her arm again, that the deep growl of an engine drew attention to the curb. A sleek black luxury sedan pulled up, its paint glistening under the sun. The driver stepped out quickly, opening the rear door. From inside emerged a tall man in a charcoal gray suit, his tie perfectly knotted, his polished shoes clicking against the pavement. The CEO of the Grand Pearl Hotel, Daniel Hill. He carried himself with the easy confidence of someone who'd been in boardrooms more than living rooms, whose handshake could seal multi-million-dollar deals. Guests greeted him warmly, calling his name. But then his eyes moved toward the commotion at the entrance. They landed on Marcus, gripping an old woman's arm, on Evelyn, standing back with folded arms and a tight, approving expression, on the crowd, recording with hungry eyes, and finally on her face. His steps faltered, his eyes widened. The polished corporate composure slipped. "Mom?" The single word cut through the laughter like a blade. Marcus froze mid-motion. Evelyn's mouth dropped open. The crowd went still, a ripple of uncomfortable silence replacing the earlier amusement. Margaret looked up at him. "So," she said, her voice steady, "this is the kind of people you hire?" Daniel's jaw worked, but no sound came out. Marcus, the guard, froze as the words left Daniel's mouth. "Mom?" The single syllable cut through the smirks, and whispers like a glass shattering on marble. Evelyn, the manager, blinked twice, her polished confidence cracking as her eyes darted from Daniel, the CEO, to the old woman still gripping her worn purse. The crowd shifted in an awkward wave. Some lowered their phones. Others took a cautious step back as though guilt had weight. Daniel stepped forward, his voice carrying both disbelief and concern. "Mom, what happened here?" Margaret didn't soften. She stood straight, her gaze locked on him. "What happened?" "Your guard shoved me. Your manager mocked me. Your guests laughed in my face. That's what happened." Daniel's jaw tensed. "Marcus, is this true?" Marcus stammered. "Sir, I didn't know that she was my mother?" Daniel snapped. "That's not an excuse. You don't treat any human being like that." Evelyn tried to interject. "Mr. Hill, with all due respect, we were maintaining the image of the hotel." Margaret's voice cut through hers like steel. "Image? Your image is a lie if it comes at the cost of dignity. I had the money. I had the right to be here, and you still saw me as less." A few people in the crowd shifted uncomfortably. A man in a blue blazer glanced at the floor. Someone whispered, "Damn, she's right." Daniel looked around at the sea of faces, guests, staff, strangers, all witnesses to his shame. His voice dropped into a low, dangerous calm. "Marcus, Evelyn, you're finished here. Hand in your IDs and uniforms before you leave this building." Marcus's mouth opened, then closed again. Evelyn's cheeks burned red. Neither spoke as two other security staff appeared and moved in to escort them away. Margaret didn't watch them go. Her eyes stayed on her son. "I didn't break my back for 30 years, cleaning other people's messes, so you could run a place where people like me aren't welcome." Daniel swallowed, his voice softer now. "I didn't know." "You didn't care to know," Margaret said. "And that's worse." Silence fell so heavy it felt like even the air was listening. The lobby music seemed miles away. Margaret turned to face the guests, still lingering at the doors. "Let me tell you something. The person you look down on today might be the one who kept the lights on so you could live your dream tomorrow. Money doesn't make you better. Skin doesn't make you worse. And respect doesn't cost a damn thing. So stop acting like it's for sale." She turned back to Daniel. "If your hotel is going to carry your name, our name, then it better stand for more than marble floors and rich faces." Daniel's eyes glistened. He nodded slowly. "It will, Mom, I promise." Margaret stepped past him into the glittering lobby. This time, no one blocked her path. No one laughed. The glass doors closed behind her, and for the first time since they'd opened, the Grand Pearl felt less like a fortress